Right now, search underway for a man accused of shooting a bounty hunter this morning. A judge giving North County districts the green light to welcome back more students to campus, breaking down what exactly that ruling means and what the district's plans are. And what a move into the red tier today could mean for San Diego. ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
An intense search continues in Chula Vista after a bounty hunter was shot overnight while trying to serve a warrant. ABC 10 News anchor Mary McKenzie has been out at the scene all morning and has the latest on the suspect.
They still have the block taped off here at East J Street near Arroyo, but the search for the suspect, who is considered armed and dangerous, is continuing elsewhere. They didn't find him inside this home this morning. I want to show you his picture first. This is Christopher Marquez. Chula Vista PD says he should not be approached. They shared this photo with us, and the bounty hunters who were out here to bring Marquez into custody last night shared another. Those bounty hunters with fugitive arrests say they were serving a warrant on Marquez around 9 p.m. last night when they were shot at, one of them wounded, setting off this manhunt overnight and into this morning. With a swarm of SWAT officers in full tactical gear, the Chula Vista PD Bearcat and Command Center overtaking this neighborhood.
We grabbed, did a hot removal, took our partner to the hospital. At some point, the suspect returned, took my partner's car and moved down the street, and now they're looking for him out in that area.
Wounded was retired police officer, now bounty hunter, Jeremy Clark, who's at UCSD Medical Center with 2 gunshot wounds. His partner, Jesse Nunez, says he has a shattered ankle. The bullet lodged too close to an artery to be removed yet. He was also shot in the arm. Nunez says the shooter ambushed them with a pistol, but also had an assault rifle with him when he took off from the scene here last night. The SWAT team tried calling him out and using flashbangs this morning at the home, but it appears he was nowhere to be found. Police are actively continuing their search for Marquez, who they say may be charged with attempted murder or at the very least assault with a firearm. Mary McKenzie, ABC 10 News.
San Diego poised to enter the red tier, moving out of the state's most restrictive tier. We're going to get a full update on the county's status shortly, but San Diego has been on track for this change, and that would mean a number of changes across the county. Here are a few of them. Restaurants would be able to open up to 25% indoor capacity. Gyms can have people indoors at 10% capacity. And movie theaters would be allowed to welcome people back for the first time in months. Those changes as San Diego's case rate continues to trend downward and more people get vaccinated. Well, today we're getting a clearer picture on the impact the judge's ruling will have on school districts in the North County. ABC 10 News reporter Marie Cornell breaks down the details.
This week, a judge cleared the way to bring more students back on campus. And this comes after the state shot down 3 North County school districts' plans to begin welcoming back their students. The state denied their plans, saying the districts could only return if they had 1 teacher per 15 students, a model that districts say is impossible for secondary students.
We know that at middle and high school, that's not possible. Every middle and high school student has a different class schedule and they have different teachers, which they change throughout the day.
That's Christine Peck, a spokesperson for the Poway Unified School District. She says the judge's ruling will essentially clear the way for the plan they had in place, gradually bringing back students to in-person learning. Small groups coming to campus first 1 day a week and then later 2 days a week, all regardless of where San Diego is on the state's tier list.
But with this ruling, it makes us able to confidently move forward with our phased reopening and expanding our reopening, regardless of the county tier status.
Carlsbad Unified, who is also involved with the lawsuit, is doing something similar. This week, they're also bringing back their middle and high school students in cohorts 2 days a week. Christine adds, while this is a slower transition back to campus, they're seeing it's helping students adjust to these changes.
Students had a lot of anxiety and apprehension after being away from campus so long.
Marie Cornell, ABC 10 News.
After administering more than 200,000 shots, San Diego County's first vaccination superstation will shut down for good after this weekend. After the last scheduled appointment for Saturday, March 20th, the county's vaccination superstation out at the Padres tailgate parking lot will close.
We always knew it was going to have to close as we head into baseball season.
Well, now that the state has greenlit fans to be in attendance at 20% capacity, the cardboard cutouts will be replaced by real people who will need real parking spots. UC San Diego Health says they'll try to fit in everyone who needs a second dose at Petco or at one of their other sites. Nathan Fletcher says the county is planning to open another downtown Superstation at the San Diego Convention Center once the federal government gives them a better idea of the vaccine availability. Now to that story that we've been tracking along the border. Border Patrol saying it's encountering many more unaccompanied minors now versus this time last year. In fact, facilities are overwhelmed, holding more children than at the peak of the 2019 crisis. ABC's Rena Roy has more.
It's a crisis that appears to be getting worse inside these tents along the U.S.-Mexico border, a record number of migrant children. Sources telling ABC News more than 4,200. The unaccompanied minors are not supposed to be held there more than 3 days. Instead, some stay for a full week, according to lawyers who have been inside. They say 45 to 50 kids without their parents share a space like this, some even sleeping on the floor.
It was just really emotional to see the pain that these young people were in.
Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas saying the U.S. is bracing for more migrants on the border than in the past 20 years, on GMA urging people to avoid making the journey up north.
Do not come now. Give us the time to rebuild a system that was entirely dismantled in the prior administration.
Republicans are calling out the White House, but some are criticizing them for not doing the same with the Trump administration's child separation policy, when many were taken from their parents.
There's no other way to claim it than a Biden border crisis.
The Biden administration is deploying FEMA to help with the surge by opening new facilities to house these children. This convention center in Dallas expected to hold up to 3,000 immigrant teens. And in Midland, Texas, this emergency intake site will temporarily house, then process minors before they're taken into long-term holding.
ABC News has asked for access to those housing facilities along the border about 24 times, but our requests have gone unanswered, though the White House says they are committed to transparency and are trying to find a way to let journalists in. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
This morning, a close call after a destructive crash in Spring Valley. Take a look. This is the scene after a truck plowed into an apartment building off of Grand Avenue. There actually wasn't anyone inside the truck at the time of this crash. The owner says it was out of gas, and while he was outside of it, it started rolling downhill and into the apartment. Now, one person inside actually got trapped underneath some of the rubble, but he and everyone else made it out with no more than minor injuries.
There was glass all over my body, but luckily it was just my finger. But yeah, the ceiling's a little cracked right now.
Well, the crash displaced 6 people. Red Cross was helping several of them this morning, and a building inspector was called in to check that structure. And just an hour later, this car crashing into a store in National City. Police say this Camry was T-boned and spun out before slamming into the building. They say, though, that no one was injured. Cause of the crash is being investigated. Drugs and alcohol are not suspected.